Many bananas.
Yeah.
Maybe we should only have 5 bananas.
I really like the sketch about the exploding soup.
We need to write more about the gay amputee demographic.
I think the Pope actually said that. So that's...
Yeah, that would work.
I'll eat the other one.
Judas Macari is probably the best movie ever made.
It was either him or Samuel L. Jackson.
Are they the same person?
Don't remember.
No, we can Google it. It'll be fine.
We've done it.
We're on air in 20 seconds.
Hurry the hell up!
Welcome to the first ever episode of Showreel, the weekly show that delves into the film and television industry. We'll take an in-depth look at both current and upcoming box office films.
On today's show, we'll be reviewing Oz the Great and Powerful and discussing the upcoming film Spring Breakers. Every week we'll be joined by a special guest from the industry. Tonight's guest was the host of a popular web series. She's a sidekick on the Late Night Show, and she's also on this show. It's Amanda Bacchi. Welcome, Amanda.
Yay!
Tell us a little bit about your background.
Sure. I started out doing PR journalism and media studies at uni, and then at the start of last year, some people that I met were doing a web series show, and I thought, I can do that. Sounds really easy. A week later, they paid to get on TBS in Sydney, so they, were like, well, obviously you can, continue being a regular, which is awesome. So I had like a 30-second segment and a trailer, which is all girly stuff like True Blood and Game of Thrones and all that cool stuff, and The Walking Dead, which I snuck in there. And then the main host left, so I became the main host for the second season, which was really cool. I got to be the script writer, I got to be the researcher, the presenter, the host, the interviewer at things like Supernova and Zombie Walk and media liaison, and all these crazy
That sounds
things.
really exciting.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, it's one thing to be in front of the camera, but it's another thing to be able to experience lots of different roles behind the camera. Has that changed the type of presenter or the type of host that you've become, and what's it done for you?
Well, I started out with nothing. Like, literally, I got in front of a green screen and I wrote my own script and it went on the auto cue and I kind of just read it out. And I think over the year that I did it, I developed a lot of confidence, and I mean, the audience that I had, they were just so supportive. It was like a really great time, and I'm like, oh, fans, and it was kind of cute and stuff. And then I transitioned into the late night show, which is kind of just thrown in the deep end. Right. And we kind of discuss different things from week to week, and there's no set script or anything like that. So it's, building on that confidence and stuff like that. So, yeah.
So now that you're a sidekick on the Late Night Show, how is that different from some of the other projects you've done?
Well, Scott likes to call me his companion, like Doctor Who type companion. It's pretty fun. Basically, it's in a much bigger studio. It's still continuing on doing like volunteering and things like, here at Digital 31, which has been really fun. It's just impromptu. So I've just got to make everything up on the spot, and it is a comedy-based show, and I don't really consider myself very funny, so it's
I don't know, I think there's two different kinds of funny. There's funny ha-ha and funny peculiar, and I think as long as you're a good mixture of the both.
Exactly.
Are you funny ha-ha or funny peculiar?
I'm awkward funny. Like last week I spilled water all over myself 2 seconds before filming, so I was like, oh, oops.
Now tell us, you've been involved in zombies, with the zombies. What's that?
Right, so last year, I think it was October, just around Halloween, we did Brisbane Zombie Walk. Mm-hmm. So we went in, took the film crew, and I spent an hour in the makeup tent, and I was, completely head to toe zombified, which was really cool. And then I got to do the walk itself, which was amazing because I got to terrify people. Like, most of the people there were dressed up and they had blood splatter and things like that, and just their regular outfits. And then I came along and in my crazy, intense, mouth ripped off, teeth sticking out makeup, and people literally ran in fear. And I'm just like, yeah, that's right, run away. But I think the best part was going through the Roma Street Parklands on my way to go home on the train. At Central Station, the lights went out, and here I am, a zombie, sitting in the corner, and everyone's just looking at me. Going.
It sounds like a really good experience. Where to next for you? What are your plans? What do you want to get involved in?
I'm having so much fun at Digital 31 at the moment, obviously working on Showreel, which is a really great experience. I'm working with the other volunteers. Late night show, there's a whole year planned out for that, so I'm not going anywhere, Scott. No. But I'm just trying to get involved in the industry, doing other projects, and just working with people who work with me. I kind of fell into this, so I'm just going wherever it takes me.
What can you tell us about Girly Geek Speak? How did that all come about?
Girly Geek Speak is my website. It started out as a resume for all of the things that I've done. So just, it's got blogs, it's got, everything from technology to comics to movies and everything like that. It's got all of my videos and things like that. It is under construction at the moment, so I'm in the process of completely rebranding everything with all of the social media expertise that I've gained over the last year, which has been really interesting. But yeah, I think one of the best things was that with my website is that I had almost 1,000 hits overnight one day. It was for my Supernova vlog that I wrote. So yeah, just amazing. And all the people that I met through there, all the comic writers, and I got to meet Tom Hopper, who was in Merlin. I literally fell into his arms, and it was just like... So, yeah.
Now, you mentioned about movies. What kind of movies? We're going to discuss some great movies this episode. What kind of movies do you like?
I have such an eclectic taste in movies, so everything from Napoleon Dynamite, just my guilty pleasure movie, to like Scott Pilgrim, and then all of the Lord of the Rings films that carry them everywhere on my neck. Everyone keeps picking on me because I still haven't seen Star Wars. It seems to be such a separate thing in the geek world. I don't know. But I see everything. I have a standing Thursday movie night with anyone who will go with me on a movie date. So yeah, I just love everything. Except horror, I don't really. Unless I have someone's hand to hold, but that doesn't happen very often.
Oh, good. Well, we've got some fantastic movies that we'll talk about throughout the series, and in this particular episode, we're going to be looking at Oz the Great and Powerful. You've seen it?
I have, yes.
Yeah, you've got a couple of things to tell us about it?
I do, yes.
Excellent, great. So we'll be coming back in just a few moments' time. We'll talk about Oz the Great and Powerful that we've all seen, what we liked, what we didn't like, and we'll rate it for you.
Sounds good.
Welcome back to Showreel. Disney's latest fantasy adventure, Oz the Great and Powerful, sees director Sam Raimi imagining the origins of L. Frank Baum's beloved wizard character. With an all-star lineup including James Franco, Mila Kunis, Oz tells the story of Oz Oscar Diggs, a small-time circus magician and con artist with dubious ethics.
When Oscar's hurled away from dusty Kansas to the vibrant land of Oz, he thinks he's hit the jackpot. That is until he meets three witches, Theodora, Evanora and Glinda, who aren't convinced he's the great wizard that everyone's been expecting. Reluctantly drawn into the epic problems facing the land of Oz, Oscar must find out who is good and who is evil before it's too late.
You're in Oz.
It's like no place I've ever seen.
Great wizard from Kansas. Come and set things right. You're the only one strong enough to destroy the Wicked Witch. Are you the great man we've been waiting for?
I think I could be.
Rated PG.
So coming out in March, actually we're already out in cinemas, it's just broken the first week of the box office. This is obviously the prequel to The Wizard of Oz. So I guess many people who go and see this movie won't be familiar with The Wizard of Oz if they're a lot younger. The Wizard of Oz, of course, the 1939 making of the film. What did we think, girls?
It was average, I don't know. I watched the original last night and it's on another level. Yeah, I don't know.
Had you seen The Wizard of Oz?
Yeah, I saw it last Thursday, and you know, when it came out, and I just had such high expectations for it, and it just fell so far short of what I thought it would be.
It's definitely a change from the older versions, especially since Warner Brothers now owns the right to a lot of iconic elements that were in The Wizard of Oz. So you won't see the ruby slippers, you won't see like a different shade of green on the witch.
Right,
You won't see the yellow brick
the
road.
wart's missing, yellow brick road, right.
So it's not something I'd usually go and see, but Franco was enough to make me go and watch it.
Look, I'm going to call it how it is. It's a movie for 6-year-olds. Or people who behave like 6-year-olds, or people who can imagine like 6-year-olds.
Or people who love James Franco.
Or 6-year-olds.
So,
that's exactly right. Look, to be honest, it was a big budget film. I think the production budget was $200 million. Big budget film. And I was a little concerned. There are a couple of things in the movie for me that just didn't flow right. Half of the time we were on a really great set, and then other parts of the time we were in Toontown. We were in a Looney Tunes. It was very animated. And it seemed to me to be really inconsistent. Did you notice that?
The CGI was a little bit out on some, you know, all of a sudden they're walking down the yellow brick road and there's this big scene. You're like, hold on a minute. You're looking to either side and it just didn't quite line up. So yeah, that was definitely one of the things, kind of stood out.
I think that's almost something that was intentional though. It was supposed to cut away to something more fantasy land. That's how it's always usually been.
Yeah.
So I guess it was kind of holding back to the old style stuff.
Yeah, I really did enjoy the fact that it was in black and white, kind of that noir style to start with, and Zach Braff being in there, and then cutting it to the extreme colour. I mean, obviously back in 1939 that would have been, you know, the same type of thing, but yeah, the fact that it didn't go back to the black and white at the end, it was supposed to, The Wizard of Oz being a dream land, and for that to stay there and not go back. And incorporate all of those characters, because obviously in the 1939 Julie Garland version, she has all of these characters and then she has a dream and they're all in the dream and then she goes back. It seems like the Michelle Williams character came through as Glinda, as you know, and that kind of travelled on. I didn't really understand what was going on with that.
Well, let's have a talk about some of the casting, because the main character we know is James Franco. It was turned down by Robert Downey Jr. It was turned down by Johnny Depp as well, who personally I think would have been excellent. Anytime you take Edward Scissorhands and make him into a wizard, it's going to work.
Well, Johnny Depp was originally interested in the part, but he had filming conflicts.
Yeah. There's a lot
but it would have
going
been good to have him in it.
Yeah, I agree.
Sucks when you get paid so much money, you've got so many options, doesn't it?
All of the female leads were so strong in this. Rachel Weisz, who's in The Mummy, and I love her in everything. I thought that she was just amazing in this movie. Obviously we can't ruin the ending for anyone, but her transformation at the end was scary. I wouldn't take my 6-year-old to see that. That was in your face, and I was, I don't know, it was very Sam Raimi, I thought, because I mean he's come from the Evil Dead, and you know, I thought it was odd when he went into Spider-Man and then into this. The transition, it seems to flow, but you know, he's gone back to making Evil Dead. I think he just wanted to see some horror in there. It was kind of like, oh.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, also the musical score that's received a lot of notice.
Done by Danny Elfman, who you may know from the Simpsons theme.
Also, with a little bit of Mariah Carey thrown in as well.
Yeah.
What do we think of that?
I don't know. Like I said, I watched the original last night, and every song in that is iconic. And this just didn't seem to have any of those, you know, really catchy
standout tracks
that get stuck in your head, like, you know, Ding Dong, the Witch is Dead, or, you know, The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, you know, all of those types. I mean, excuse my singing. But, you know, those, even people who don't know the movie or have never seen the original know those songs. So, you know, I just didn't think that it was really...
But then it is kind of taking away from the old version, since they don't have those iconic elements. I guess it is kind of paving their own version of it.
It was almost an entirely different story.
Look, one of the things they've been able to do with this new, with the new film, the prequel, that they wouldn't have been able to do back in 1939 was the use of 3D. We've seen a lot of 3D lately. We've seen 3D in Life of Pi. We've seen it in Hugo. I personally didn't see the 3D version, but I heard the 3D version of this film was really good.
Yeah, I saw it in 3D. I think it's just getting kind of done to death. But yeah, I was really impressed with the 3D. And I mean, I guess that's why it was so scary at the end with things kind of jumping out. That's probably it now that I put my finger on it. But yeah, no, I guess with so much CGI, it's just all incorporated into the film as a base element these days. So you know, it's... Yeah,
Now, the promotion of the film was really interesting because to promote the film, they ended up using a hot air balloon that travelled across the US of A,
yeah.
Oh, wow.
which is, if you haven't seen the film, there's that key moment at the beginning with a hot air balloon, and this hot air balloon travelled across the US for the distribution and the promotion of it. They were expecting 80 million in the box office on the first weekend. They reached their 80 million. How long do you think we'll see this film around for? Do you think it will be as iconic as the original?
I don't think so. An interesting thing I was Googling before, the $80 million that they made on box office for this, it cost $200 million to make. Back in 1939, the film grossed $17 million, and in translation, I mean, that was during the Depression. So $17 million is actually $275 million nowadays. So, you want to try and put them on scale in an iconic movie as opposed to what's come out now is...
Well, it has killed at the box office, and because of that, a sequel has been confirmed. What are your thoughts on that, given that we won't have the iconic elements that you did in the 1939 version?
My first thought is it needs to be shorter. This was the longest movie that I have seen in a really long time. It was 155 minutes, really long, particularly if it's aimed at a kids' movie. The sequel, look, I think it's going to depend on casting. I think it will depend on whether or not they do it in 3D. There's potential there for it. Will it ever be as great as the original?
I don't think there's much of a gap between the end of this one and the start of The Wizard of Oz. Really, you've got the start of The Wizard of Oz where the Wicked Witch of the West has a house dropped on her, and the Wicked Witch of the East, and then Wicked Witch of the West is flying around. It's like, what really can happen in that time after this one? You have to see it. Well, but I just don't think that there is, much. Obviously, she's, Wicked Witch of the West has gotten a lot more evil in that space of time. But what could possibly have happened to make her more evil?
Well, who knows? We'll have to see how it goes. Now, before we wrap it up, let's have a look and see. Out of 5, what do we give it, ladies?
I'm giving it a 3 out of 5.
Oh, 3 out of 5, Bridget, Amanda?
I give it a 3.
I give it a 2. It was the longest movie ever.
Yeah.
So we'll have to wait and see. So on average, it's a 3 out of 5 for us. Welcome back to Showreel. Spring Breakers sees Disney stars Selena Gomez and Vanessa Hudgens swap sing-alongs for beer bongs in Harmony Korine's coming-of-age Hollywood debut. The film tells a story of 4 college girls as they plan to fund their spring break getaway by robbing a fast food shack. But that's only the beginning.
At a motel room rager, fun reaches its legal limit and the girls are arrested and taken to jail. In a strange turn of events, they're bailed out by a hustling gangster, Alien, played by James Franco, who takes the party animals under his wing and into the vast criminal world. As the young friends are seduced by the suave and dangerous gangster, it becomes unclear on how far they'll have to go to have an unforgettable spring break.
This is more than just spring break. We're getting out of here, searching to see something different.
Hi, Grandma. Having so much fun here. So nice to get a break from reality for a little while. I'm starting to think this is the most spiritual place I've ever been. Everyone was so warm and friendly. Feels as if the world is perfect.
Spring break, y'all!
Like it's never gonna end.
That's the dream, y'all. That's the American dream.
Who are you?
My name's Alien. Gangsta. You girls is different from the rest. I knew y'all was special from the moment I saw you. It's in your eyes. It's written on your faces.
Pretend like it's a video game.
Wanna have some fun?
Oh my God!
Let's cause some trouble. Live life to the fullest.
This isn't the end of the dream. Don't worry.
Break, bitches!
That has to be every parent's worst nightmare.
Agreed.
I'm pumped for this film.
No, Bridget, you are not pumped for this film. This film is so bad for so many different reasons. Why are you pumped?
Everyone seems to think that, it's pushing the envelope too much, but it's directed by Harmony Korine. He's renowned for his grimy cult classics. It's what he's about. That's his shtick. Converse is his thing.
Why is he casting Disney girls?
That's the whole thing. It's like part of the controversy. It's pushing the envelope. It's
a social experiment, is what he says.
Yeah, I mean, it's challenging people's perceptions.
Yeah, he's saying if these girls weren't in this movie, would he have made, you know, as much of a big deal? But he has cast them, so, you know.
I think this is an absolute disaster waiting to happen, and I tell you a couple of things. Firstly, if this was a movie not about spring break, but about schoolies on the Gold Coast, everybody would be upset. People would have a lot to say about it.
I mean, it's a different age group though. Spring break, you're looking at 21 plus. I mean, that's what the film's geared towards. Whether or not people under 21 go to spring breakers is irrelevant, because the film really is geared at people who are 21 and over.
So I would imagine that when this film comes out, it's going to have all the Selena Gomez fans, it'll have all the Disney Girl fans. If Selena and Justin Bieber are still together, all the Bieber fans. What kind of example is this movie setting?
I mean, I think that's a stretch though, to assume that girls are going to go to this movie and then rob a bank. You know, I watched Thor in grade 10, but I'm yet to kidnap anyone and hold them to ransom.
Yeah, maybe not rob a bank, but what about the drinking, the sex, the drugs?
The
I don't
guns. Selena Gomez came out and said, I love holding a gun. I mean, they've got enough problems in the US with gun laws as it is, without teenage girls running around wanting to find one to hold it to experience, you know, what their idol has experienced in, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah. What do you think this is going to do for underage drinking, or not just underage drinking, but binge drinking in general? Do you think that this movie is sending a message?
It's not just binge drinking though. It's coke, it's weed, it's, you know, every drug reference under the sun, and yeah, she's like doing a lot of troublemaking stuff. So it's
I mean, the whole movie though, it's a reflection of society. Like, they literally went to spring break. The extras are all people who are on spring break. They're all drunk, they're all naked. So I don't think it's going to influence people to do things that they're clearly already doing.
So let me get this right. In the background of the movie, all of the extras are actually on spring break. 500
extras were taken from actual spring breakers.
That's got to be a director's nightmare.
Yes. But it's not the first time that it's happened. They do it all the time in things like the OC and, you know, like things like Eurotrip and Sex Drive and those types of movies. They just take it straight out of, you know, life, pretty much. You're right on that. It is a reflection of life.
Right.
But at the same time, these girls don't seem to. The Selena Gomez character seems to be a staple. Like, she's like, doesn't seem to be.
Yeah, she's the moral compass throughout the film. So for all the Selena Gomez fans out there,
they won't be disappointed.
They won't be disappointed. She is. She's the moral voice throughout the whole thing. She's the one who has the cathartic sort of experience at the end.
I just think, make good choices, girls. Make good choices.
That would be good.
And I just don't see a lot of good choices being made in this movie.
Well, her mum pushed her into this. Well, not pushed her, but suggested the film.
I think it's just a good transition for them. You know, they've been Disney their whole lives, so they're reaching a point where it's time to sort of shed the Disney image and move into more adult films. I think it's a great film to move into that kind of area.
But there's a big difference between this and Twilight. I mean...
and this is not exactly the path less travelled. Lindsay Lohan travelled this path.
Yeah.
Britney Spears travelled this path. They went from the nice, innocent, Mickey Mouse, Disney kind of girls, and they went down this path. So, I don't know, is that a glimpse of Selena's future?
I don't think so, no.
Britney Spears? Oh, I don't know.
So, the film is not out yet. It's scheduled to come out very shortly.
Yes, it's supposed to coincide. It doesn't have an actual release date. It was initially released for September 2012, but that's obviously been pushed back to be released like with the actual spring break in America.
And Selena Gomez is releasing an album in April, so...
Oh, how coincidental. How coincidental.
Yes, that's right.
So, look, I don't think that I will be lining up at the box office to see this. No. Bridget, I know that you will
I've already bought my tickets.
Bridget's pre-booked tickets. She's got her seat selected.
I kind of want to go now just to, you know, see
I'm so pumped for it. I don't understand why people aren't pumped for it.
Well, James Franco in this is just playing such a ridiculously different character to things like Oz and things
I think it's a lot darker than the trailer makes it out to be. I mean, it is directed by Harmony Korine. He is kind of renowned for the darker sort of movies that do push the envelope a lot. So I don't think it's going to be your typical spring break movie. I think there's a lot more to it that, you know, it's hard to fit into a 1 minute 30 trailer.
Right.
And Amanda raises a really good point. We've just seen James Franco come out of The Wizard of Oz, or out of Oz the Great and Powerful, sorry, and then he goes into spring break. Surely no, we're not expecting to see the Wizard at spring break. Do you think that there's any concern for actors who transition from one movie directly into another movie in such different characters, or do you think that can only do good things for them?
Not when you're being paid $7 million a movie.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. And
that's true.
When they're so good at what they do as an actor or actress, I mean... There was talk on set that James Franco worked on, and it was just a completely different ball game. You know, I mean, he's got the weave and he's like, dollar bills, y'all. So, and everyone's just like, yep, righto, we know
Actually
who he is.
based on a rapper called Riff Raff. He does exist. He is a real person.
There you go. I've never seen so many grills and bikinis. And it'll be an interesting movie.
Guns in the air. I'm just like, oh, okay.
That's it. Well, if we had to rate it before it came out, if we had to rate it purely based on the trailer, hold on, Bridget, because I know you want to give out your 5. Amanda, what are you going to give this?
I give it a 1.
1 out of 5?
Yeah.
Oh, Bridget, I also give it a 1.
I'm giving it a 5 to push up the score.
So it gets an average of 2. Well, no doubt it will cause a lot of controversy. Whether or not it ends up being a good movie or a bad movie, it will be talked about.
We're talking about it now, so it's done its job.
That's it. It's already done its job and it's not even out. So we'll see how it goes then. Well, that's all we have time for this week, but we will be back at the same time next week for another episode of Showreel and with another special guest, Chris Anderson. We'll see you then.